seashells. That's what our lesson's going to be on today. As you can see, there's Gary and all of the shells that I've collected over the years. So there's lots of different types of shells. As you can see, my sea turtle right here, they have a shell. Eggs have a shell. Things like armadillos have a shell. Snails have a shell. And little animals called mollusks, which are what used to live in most of these shells. They're tiny little invertebrates that don't have a spine. So you and I, humans, and most animals have a spine. That's how we stand up straight. These animals that would have lived in these shells do not. They're kind of squishy and kind of like a slug. But they once lived in these shells, and also hermit crabs. So I know that Miss Kinsley's classroom has some hermit crabs. They find these shells that different mollusks abandoned or left, and based on how big they are, the hermit crabs will climb inside these and use these shells for their house. So these are things that are an animal's house that keeps other animals away. Okay, so here are some of my shells. As I was mentioning, I wanted to kind of zoom in. This is my beach themed bathroom, as you guys can see. Here's my big poster of all the different kinds of seashells. And some sand. So I'm sure some of you have been to the beach, but not everyone. And if you have been to the beach, you might have seen some of these scallop shells, which are pretty popular. They kind of look like a little fan. Things like clams and oysters and things live in these because they actually would have, if it was still alive, it would have two sides. So it would have another side that went on top of it like this, and it would open. And different seashells, when they're alive, actually change color and develop different color based on what they eat. So if there was a mollusk or some other crab or living creature in these shells, if it was eating super red seaweed, it would kind of get this reddish color, more reddish color. And some of them are bigger and smaller, but these are the ones that you find washed up on the beach after nothing is living in it anymore. So it's not anybody's house. So sometimes you'd find like a crab or a hermit crab that would live in a bigger kind of conch shell looking thing like this. And I've found that the seashells that I have, it's fun to kind of lay them out like that and then look at this cool map and see what seashells match with the shells that I have. Okay, now let's also talk about why some shells are shaped the way that they are. And it all has a purpose of where they live in their environment. So our scallop shells that would typically be, if something still lived in it, like I said, it would be sandwiched like this. And then the little clam, let's see if I can do this, the little clam would open up like this. They have these little, if you can see, they have little ribbons, little ridges, which make it harder for other animals to peck at it and break holes in it to get the mollusk out of, or the clam out of his shell. So if it was normally like this, if it was closed and alive, even if you dropped it, it would be really hard to break. So the reason it's shaped like this is for protection. So our little conch shells, these are designed to help them dig down very deep in the sand. So if I were to have one that was going down deep in the sand, let's check this out here. They are elongated like this and have these kind of drill-like spirals so that they can wiggle themselves down and hide easier, like this. And then they hide in the sand. They're camouflaged, so they can hide from other predators and live in the sand. So that's why they're shaped that way. Okay, so one fun activity that you can do if you have any shells laying around, or if you want to order some that can safely be delivered if you feel so inclined, is to categorize them from smallest to biggest or from biggest to smallest. That's just one sequence you could do, which is pretty easy. So try and find shells that are in the same family. So I kind of have these scallop looking shells, and then I know this is a different type of shell, I'm not actually sure, but something that is easily kind of differentiated in smallest to biggest. So you could just get out a small piece of paper. I also have several different types of writing utensils just to experiment with. So I just have a regular pencil, a color pencil, a thin marker, and a thicker marker that's just black. So it's kind of fun to see the different thicknesses of the markers once you have these kind of laid out. So what I would do is kind of just go through and talk about, have them feel them, talk about which one looks the smallest. So what do you guys think? This one is almost as big as my hand. Let's check this little scallop. You can see there's still sand on some of these. I don't know if that one would be the smallest. It's definitely not the biggest. What about this tiny little guy? I'm gonna go with keeping this one as the smallest, the colorful one. So now if we move down on the page, let's see. Which one looks the next biggest? Again, this one, if you hold this in your hand, this one is quite a bit bigger. I think maybe even this seashell could fit inside of it. Ta-da! Okay. So next on my smallest to biggest chart, I think I'm going to put this one as the second biggest, as the middle one. And then of course our big seashell, our biggest seashell will go here. So we have our small seashell, our medium-sized seashell, and our large seashell. Okay, so the reason I have all these different writing utensils out, here's my pencil, which I'm going to start with, is because it's fun to trace the seashells once you have them in the sequence that you like. So you could just hold the pencil straight up and down. It doesn't have to be perfect. And trace them. I'm doing this with one hand, so they're not going to be that good, but it's okay. This also is a way for them to see the difference in how much bigger your stroke on the paper is from smallest to biggest. Okay, so this is how it would look from just a pencil. You can start on the farthest left side of the page. so that you have room to do some of your other writing utensils if you want to do that. Clearly, this side, I'm only going to have room for one other marker, or one other utensil. So let's go on to the next one. Let's try a colored pencil. See if that looks any different. And you can just get out, what I think I'm going to do is just get out another sheet of paper to finish my big seashell. Okay. Now my next writing utensil is going to be one of the thinner markers. And we'll see the difference here. No. Okay. And then this guy, I'll just do another sheet of paper, no big deal. If you go closer to the edges, you'll find that it makes some nice little ridges. Okay, now let's go on to our last utensil here. Is a thicker black marker. So as you can see, now I have a pencil tracing, a colored pencil tracing, a thin marker, and a thicker marker. And that all comes from the smallest shell. So you'll see a different gradient of smallest to biggest. So this would be the thinnest, the next thinnest, the next, and the thickest. And then you could try doing it with some different types of shells. Small, medium, large. So these would be fun too. I'm just going to do one tracing of each with my pencil here. So I love having them try and use pencils or colored pencils, even crayons, because it really helps develop this pincer grasp, their pointer finger and our thumb, and our other fingers for support. So again, you just hold the pencil straight up and down if you can. I have one hand right now, so it's hard. And just kind of outline the shell and see what kind of shape you come up with. So that's my smallest shell, my medium shell, and my largest shell. Oops. So then you can set the shell to the right of your tracing and kind of examine how that looks. And then you could even mix them up and try and match the shell to the tracing if you wanted to. So this activity can be done with things that aren't shells. If there's something else around your house that all belong to like the same family, then you don't have to use shells. You could just use something else that's smallest to biggest, like if it was cars or dolls or anything that's a toy that it's more helpful for them if they all belong in the same family. Like this is the same type of seashell, just the smallest to biggest. The same type of scallop shell, smallest to biggest, which is how we really kind of develop awareness of how big things are, and that's really helpful for toddler development. So thanks, guys. Okay, well, thank you guys for joining me on our lesson about seashells. I hope you guys learned something and had something fun in kind of a different learning environment. I'm going to upload some different fun worksheets and other activities that go along with this. And there's my shells. I will see you all tomorrow. Have a beautiful day. Say bye, Gary. Bye.